So a few months ago, we got the 7 best sports bikes on the market all together and put them through the paces on the road, the track, the dyno and down the drag strip, all in the name of finding the ultimate sports bike of 2021. It's an epic test, but it also got us wondering, what would be our naked sports bike of the year? It was a good question, it was a question that needed answering. That's why we're here with these to find out.
So this is the class of 2021. Starting with the Aprilia 210 V4 factory. It, like the RS-V4, has had quite a makeover for this year. It's the same V4 layout engine. It's got new swinging arm, Euro 5 compliant electronic suspension. Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS. Brand new bike for 2021. The new 1200cc 3-cylinder engine, brand new chassis. It's lighter, it's more powerful than the outgoing one, and should be a weapon on the track. BMW S1000 R Sport. Totally new bike. Gets the chassis from the S1000RR and the engine from the S1000XR. Ducati Street Fighter V4S, absolute beast of a bike. Very small changes to the 2021 bike to make it Euro 5 compliant, but those tiny changes make a massive difference to the torque curve. Kawasaki ZH2 SE Performance Edition should need no introduction. Main thing about this bike, it's got a supercharger. We've also got electronic suspension on this one and a performance upgrade on the exhaust. KTM 1290 Super Duke R. Unchanged for 2021, it's the beast. V-twin, 1300cc's, fully loaded bike. Say hello to the Brutale 1000RR. Brand new bike with an engine that's derived from the iconic F4. By far the most powerful bike here on the test. Single-sided swinging arm, most expensive bike, and most importantly, it's got wings. It's also probably the most naked of them all.
So here's how it's going to work. We've got these 7 cracking machines to test. We're going to put all the electronics on all of them to the most minimalist settings, so wean down the wheelie control, the traction control, everything to make them as fair and level as possible. We've also got this control tie here from Dunlop. It's their Sport Smart TT. They're fitted on all the bikes, all the pressures are set, and we're going to go out on track today with them, and we've got a couple of days on the roads afterward to define what is the naked sports bike of the year.
Oh, my boots are perforated. They're full of water.
Come to Snetterton, they said. It's lashing it down. The rain has done us over all year. Obviously, we're not going to learn much in this aside from how to high side super naked. So that's our day on the track done pretty much. But we've given it a good shot and we've still got loads more. In fact, the main part of this test is still to come.
So we're just going to pack up and get back. We've got 2 days planned ahead where we're going to take these bikes out on the road. And to be honest, I can't wait. And the forecast, I believe, it's going to play ball.
I just want some dry pants. So the track riding didn't really work out, but we've had 2 cracking days with all of these bikes out on the roads. We've given them a proper pasting and got to know them really well. All the good bits, all the bad bits, and we've ranked them. Johnny, explain how we've worked it.
Okay, so what we decided to do was to rank all 7 bikes in 5 different categories. Fun factor, engine, comfort, handling and tech. And we gave each bike our own scores separately, and then we came together and put those scores into one big master score that gave us our final ranking for the 7 bikes. Worth mentioning, I have to say, one thing that we did have all in common, our scores were quite close.
Yeah.
But actually, in some of the categories, I'm thinking of handling in particular and fun factor, it felt a little bit cruel picking a winner, and it was incredibly close. But it's a test, so there has to be a result at the end of it, and we've got our result.
So based on looks alone, this bike right here would be the class winner. It's a stunning piece of machinery, so beautifully sculpted. The detailing on it is better than anything else on this test. But when it comes to riding it, it's actually the bike we ranked worst. It's crazy. It's also the priciest bike, I should add, in this mix, but it just didn't cut it for us. It just was not that exciting, vibrant, grab you by the throat and scare the hell out of you bike. Do you know what I mean? That a big stonking super naked should be.
It looks like it should do all of that.
Yeah.
And it feels like a race bike with no fairings on it.
Yes, yeah.
But the engine is just flat, isn't it? It makes a load of noise, but just doesn't move.
I couldn't believe first time I rode it, like I went to kind of slip the clutch and start going, and I felt it almost stop before it started. It just bogs down. I don't know, it's literally like they've gone and taken the F4 motor, plonked it in this frame, and done nothing to try and combat that bottom or mid-range oomph. It just does not deliver in a way, again, we'd expect from a supernaked.
Well, I think it's even more than that. I think what MV have done with this bike is they've just taken an F4 and restyled it. I don't think they've just taken the motor.
Yeah.
The riding position is absolutely mad. The handlebars are super low and super wide. Just like you're right, you sit on that and it's like sitting on a sports bike.
Yeah.
And which kind of leaves me wondering what's the point. The whole point of this class, the whole point of a supernaked bike is to take you a step away, just one step away from a sports bike.
Yeah.
And give you a little bit of comfort, a little bit of naughtiness that you don't get with a sports bike, a little bit of playfulness. And this just doesn't do that.
It didn't score bad on the handling department, really. It's just the motor that let it down, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this, but I mean, for me, the handling of the bike, I mean, it's really nice and agile. It's quite a short, compact bike. You know, you haven't got to fight it into a corner or anything like that. But it's also got these massive kind of, it's very busy around your heel guards, this area of the bike here. And when you're pitching into a corner, your kind of heel is ramming onto something. It's a very unnatural experience. And I couldn't concentrate on my cornering, you know, because there's so much of a distraction from your feet being held off of where they want to be back here. It's very firm seat as well, which again, you know, I don't know, you know, we're kind of alluding to it, but yeah, some people turn to, you know, big nakeds for that little bit of comfort, you know, for the slightly raised bars and relaxed knee angles, etc. So when you've got like essentially a plank of wood that you're sat on, and you've got the bad back from being forced forward on those low bars and the high pegs, it doesn't win.
The engine was a real surprise. I think that was the big disappointment for me. Off the bottom end, there was not much there because they've got this claimed 200 and whatever it's 4 or 5 horsepower, ridiculous amount of power. And it's almost like to get that, they've kind of just sacrificed everything low down.
Yeah.
And then there is this sweet spot in the middle where it is ballistic. And then the last bit where you're really expecting it to go, it just flattens off. It just flattens off. And doesn't deliver what you expect is coming next.
It is the most racy bike here.
Yeah.
And like it's got the best brakes and all that sort of gear on it. And I thought the actual controls flicking through the dash was the easiest by a long shot.
Yeah, it's got a nice dash actually. We haven't really spoken about that.
Just not busy handlebars, just really easy to operate the dash.
Yeah, easy to kind of toggle through, understand what data is being shown and what settings you're working through. I guess to kind of round up, we're saying we like it. If we owned it, it'd be that bike that you'd want to show your mates, but maybe not let them have a go on. Do you know what I mean? And you maybe wouldn't want to ride it that much, but thing of beauty. But beauty isn't always best.
Okay, in 6th position, we've got the Triumph Speed Triple 1200 RS, which is a brand new bike for this year, and really was Triumph stepping into the supernaked class for the first time. They've always been playing with the Speed Triple 1050, which has never really been quite in the game. This bike, massive jump in power, massive reduction in weight, and they kind of now qualify for the class with it.
Yeah, I mean, do you know what? I was really excited to ride this bike. This was a machine, you know, Johnny was excited when he got back from the launch, and you know, Charlie's kind of had one as a termer, and I finally got my opportunity to have a ride on it. And I guess I was a little deflated. Firstly, because at slow speeds, and this is, you know, we're talking about big, powerful bikes here, but it's important. I don't know whether it's this bike in particular or all the speed triples and these speed triples in general, but the clutch delivery at low speeds is horrendous. It just wants to jump out. So if you're trying to do a U-turn or set up from a junction, it feels like you've got such a small range to deliver the whole clutch. I mean, you had the same problem with that, didn't you?
Yeah, just a bit draggy and a bit heavy and all, really, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's no refinement. There's no kind of, if you want to slip the clutch, it's not a nice clutch to slip as well. So minor detail, but frustrating when you are riding it on the roads, you know, as we have been. I think the engine itself is great. You know, the 1050 speed triple of old had a great, nice, torquey triple motor. Nothing wrong with that. It sounds great. You can tell it's got a lot more urgency than the 1050 speed triple. But I don't know, I just kind of wish it had more character. Some of these bikes here have got so much more character and zest about them, and the speed triple just didn't deliver in the way I sincerely hoped it would. It's a shame, but it is what it is.
I think it's just really important though, just to remind ourselves that up until this year they weren't even in this class.
Yeah.
And they've stepped in, and they've stepped in with the caveat themselves that they're stepping in with a road bike, not a full-blooded super naked. And I think that's what this bike does. You know, it's a very, I want to say sensible. It's not sensible. It's got 170 horsepower, but it's got really, really grown-up suspension on it. The Olin stuff works really well. It's nicely balanced. It behaves itself. It doesn't do anything bad. I mean, we're talking about how a clutch reacts at slow speed.
Yeah.
That's what we're picking at here. You know, so. But I think. I mean, I'm a fan. I think it's a great bike. You can ride it all day long. It's dead smooth. But you're right. In the company that it's in, it's come up a little bit short.
Tim, what's your take on the handling?
I thought handling-wise, it wasn't too bad, but nothing. A little bit heavy on the heavy side for me personally. Yeah. Overall, it just feels a little bit basic. Yeah. They've not gone to town with. For me, the styling isn't stand out. And again, the handling didn't stand out. Yeah. There's no feature on it that stand out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even in terms of, you know, it's you know, Johnny, you were saying there that, you know, Triumph has kind of hammered home the point it's not a track bike, and I get that. And probably all of these are, you know, road first with the competence to take them on track. But Triumph also said the message to us, you know, when they unveiled this, they're getting rid of the R, they're getting rid of the S, and they're building the RS because people always go for the premium option. I mean, it's, I think, what, about 17 grand or something like that?
That's 15, 16, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a premium price. Yeah. But I mean, one thing which frustrated me, so the ABS is not horrendous on this, but when you do start squeezing on, you start feeling that ABS pulsing on the system.
Well, the back brake gives up before you get anywhere close to locking the back wheel.
Yeah, and I think one thing which got me is when I was going through the tech on this, the functions, you know, what you can switch are really primitive. You know, you've kind of got a couple of rider modes. You've got the option of traction control on or off. With ABS, it doesn't matter what, you know, even if you've got it in rider mode, like the custom mode, there is no track ABS, which previous Triumphs, even the Daytona 675, came with a track ABS system, which was stonking. Such a great package, so I know Triumph can do it. So to kind of see that cop-out of no track ABS on a bike like this, which if I owned it, I would be taking it on track. You know, I love the way it handled, and I think actually I'd probably enjoy it even more if we had got our laps in around Snetterton on it, but we didn't, so it was pure road, and for me it just didn't ignite my fire.
So in at number 5 we've got the BMW S1000R. It's actually my long-termer, and it's been really good to test it against all these other bikes. Yeah, to find out strengths and weaknesses, it's been interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in isolation, the BMW is a cracking bike. I mean, a few people, when it was announced, were a little bit disappointed that it still made only 160 brake horsepower, but it makes its power well. It's the non-shift cam engine, so kind of more akin to like the XR, but it's a beautiful motor. Actually, you know, nice inline 4, and it kind of revs up. It's got good torque, good mid-range. I'd say the character of the engine's a little bit lacking, a bit like the S1000.
It lacks a lot of character, doesn't it? Yeah. It just seems a bit numb. Doesn't make a lot of noise, doesn't have any particular torque or grunt about it. Yeah. But once you get it wound up, it does get going.
You've got to hold them bars tight, haven't you?
The best feature for me really is how well it's been put together. It's a very well refined bike. Yeah. It's lightweight handling, got brilliant features on it, good brakes, good suspension, all the rider aids you could dream of. Yeah. And it just feels like it's put together solid.
Everything's on that massive TV-sized display as well, nice and clear and easy. Yeah. Apart from the temperature gauge, the same as the S1000R. I can't forgive BMW for that, because I guess we spend quite a bit of time parked up when we're doing photo shoots and stuff like that, and just out of habit, when I'm on this bike now, just knocking it off, because
you can get to it. You just got to flick through your wheels and stuff.
You'd wear your thumbs out if you had to go and find that menu.
I did actually wear my gloves out on this.
Did you? Yeah. I mean, it's one of those. But like you say, some great tech, some great poke. But like you said, I don't know about you, John.
Well, I think you guys have said it all already. The engine's great. It does exactly what it says on the tin. It makes a pile of power, and it's all there for you. It's just a bit featureless, but the best thing about this bike is the chassis and the handling. It feels so light and so nimble. It feels like you could put it anywhere in the corner. Really, really easy to go fast, really quickly on it.
Yeah,
because of how it handles. It's got great electronic suspension, which is a big plus. Like BMW, they always load their bikes up with all the good stuff.
Yeah.
So you've got all the functionality at the top. You've got your cruise control, your heated grips, rider modes, dynamic pro, the lot on a really great display. But the star of the show for this bike anyway, is the way it handles and turns and flicks around. It feels like a toy.
Yeah, it's a very sure-footed bike, and I mean, Tim and I have actually had this bike around the track as well, which was a proper laugh. You know, you wouldn't imagine that a bike like this would be as competent and fun, and again, I guess it's a beautiful engine, isn't it? When you get it wound up, it doesn't half go fast. A lot more stable than the last generation S1000R as well. But
yes.
I like it. I guess there's loads of features we could bang on about. It's crazy to think that it is 5th in the rankings, but it just goes to show, what it's up against, really. So our mystery 4th placed bike is actually the Aprilia Tuono 1100 V4 factory. We got our test done. We got a phone call to say you need to be back for someone else to test tomorrow, so it's gone, unfortunately. But we've had a lot of fun on that bike. It's a cracking machine. It's basically a slightly improved version of a cracking V4 Tuono of last year. You know, they're kind of in the same way that the RSV4 has been tweaked for 2021. The Tuono got a similar level of treatment, and it's just better. It's Euro 5. Which is one of those things. Actually, we haven't had it on the dyno, but the RSV4 lost a bit of power, so I imagine it's going to be a similar kind of scenario, but still felt cracking out on the road, didn't it?
Yeah, for me, it felt like it's got all the character and the features of its bigger sister sports bike, really.
Yeah.
And I love that bike.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was good. It just, the downside for me was its fueling, the low down, its fueling just felt a little bit of a switch, bit on off.
Yeah.
But once you got it up above sort of 8,000 RPM, it was a beautiful motor.
Yeah.
That V4 really comes to life then, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's got loads of character and just loads of torque, but it's one of those bikes that is so fast, but does not feel, it doesn't feel as fast as you're actually going. Do you know what I mean? It's just, it's effortless to go quick on it.
Smooth, isn't it?
Yeah,
So smooth.
Just got to get over that kind of flat bottom end of it. It's not flat, but it's just, when the rest of the motor's so good, it shows up the fluffy bottom end.
For me, there's something in the throttle, the take up on the throttle, from a fully shut to an on position.
Yeah.
It feels quite long between where you start to open the throttle and the engine starts doing something. It's tiny, but for me it was there, and I think that's something you end up having to sort of work around. But we love the RSV4 here, and this is the same. This is an unbelievably fast bike.
Yeah.
It's got some wings put on it this year, a fresh new look, the headlights look cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much coolness about this bike. It looks the part, it sounds great, it goes like Sting.
Yeah.
You know, and it's had the updates to keep it here out with us.
Yeah, it's one of those machines that is a bit Jekyll and Hyde. You know, you can kind of tootle down the road at 30 miles per hour and kind of it does everything you want it to do and behaves itself, but then, you know, you can make it into that mad machine that is just going to plant the biggest smile on your face. It's an awesome piece of kit. It's got a brilliant soundtrack. And the tech, we've not really touched on the tech, but the tech was quite good, wasn't it? Yeah,
finding a menu is the biggest challenge and actually getting into it. But once you get into it, there's so many different settings you can change. Yeah. It's definitely got some of the best tech in this group of bikes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, yeah.
When I first saw this bike, I never thought it was going to finish in 3rd place, to be honest. I'd have put it towards the bottom of the pack. It just looks a heavy beast, and it looks sort of less naked compared to the rest of them. It just looks quite busy and blocky, doesn't it?
Yeah,
but actually this proved to probably put the biggest smile on my face. I've never ridden a bike with a supercharger before, and once you get it wound up, it's like an animal. I've never ridden anything like it. It just comes on so strong. It'll wheelie in every gear. It just takes off, doesn't it?
It's wild, but in the best way. And to be fair, I mean, there's so much power in this thing, but there's also some great tech, you know, and yeah, I mean, you had a lot of fun on the track actually when we worked net before it hammered it down, you know, with this bike, and I've ridden it on track and I know firsthand just how capable it is. It's not the best handling bike in this pack, but it just plants a smile on your face like nothing else. That engine, like you say, is just mental. I like the chirping as well from the supercharger. It's got character. You know, again, to say it's an inline 4 up against some big V-twins, V4s, triples, you wouldn't place it in this mix on character because it's an inline 4, yet it really, really deserves to be there because it's so bonkers and just ludicrous.
I think it's just fun going up the rev range as it is coming down. Like when you're banging down the gears, the quick shift works great. Yeah. It's got a mega whistle from a supercharger, and the slip clutch like smooths everything out.
Just also, I couldn't believe actually, you know, when we were slowing down, like turning around to do shoots and stuff like that, just banging it down the box. That slipper clutch on that is one of the best slipper clutches. I don't know why it is as good as it is, but it actually is unreal.
So as much as I love the engine with this bike, its biggest weakness really was the handling. I think we all agreed with that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's this simple. There's a lot of mass there. It's a big, long, heavy bike. A lot of the weight's quite high up as well, and it's not so bad when you're kind of flowing through the big fast sweepers. You know, it seems to turn all right, but some of the slower bends where we've been throwing the others around like toys, you know, this thing has just kind of made you think a bit more about the weight of it.
This bike is the odd one out, isn't it? Let's be honest, in this test. So for it to finish in 3rd position, says a lot about how good and how ridiculous that engine is, doesn't it? Because it is a big bike, it's battling with physics, it's got, you know, it's a battle it can't win compared to these ones, and that's okay. Yeah. Because the star of the show on this is absolutely the engine. I've ridden every Kawasaki that's been made using that engine, up to and including this one. I have to say, for what it's worth, I think actually this bike is the best use of that engine. I think this bike, dare I even say it, is better than the H2. Yeah. It's much more usable, it's much more accessible, and it is so ridiculously fast from the moment you let the clutch out.
But smooth as well, isn't it? It don't ramp up ballistically, does it? It's sort of just
usable, and brilliant. And again, with that tech.
I know if I was off long distance with any of these, it'd be this one any day.
Comfort.
100%. It won comfort, didn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a big bike, isn't it?
Hands down, just soft, mushy, just nice.
And that little screen.
Cruiser.
You weren't a fan of the screen. I mean, we should say
like
as well, this is the Performance SE spec, but I like that screen. I think it's great. Just that little bit of protection, and you know, you like it. Why don't you like it?
I don't know. For me, right?
It's like the wind blowing on your chest.
I like it exactly. I think it's at odds with the rest of the bike, right? If you look at the bike, it's got that tubular frame painted in green. It looks ridiculous in a good way. You know, it's got all the crazy angles, and on the other side you've got the big intake for the supercharger, and here you've got a little bit of clear plastic bolted onto the front, and it just doesn't fit with the bike for me. That's
so
all.
For you, naked means naked. Strip it down.
Well, no, I just
deal with the wind.
Deal with eat the flies. KTM call it the Beast. We call it the second best bike on this test. This is the Super Duke R1290. But it's unchanged for this year, but key thing about this bike is it's a thoroughbred. Yeah. It's one of only 2 bikes on this test that have been built from day one as a super naked, the other being the Triumph.
Yes. Yeah.
And I love this bike. I absolutely adore this bike. It's just, of all of the ones in the test, it's the most naughty. And it's all because of the engine. 1300cc V-twin. They've stuck with the classic formula, haven't they? And what a weapon.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's big, it's muscly, it's one of those bikes, actually, you could just toot it along. I'm surprised for such a big V-twin engine, how smooth it is at slow speeds, but at the flick of a coin, it just is mental in a very good way. It's so exciting, so punchy. You know, you can just have such a laugh on this bike. It sounds great as well. I mean, what an awesome weapon.
It was the first bike I jumped on actually for this test, and I thought, oh, it looks a bit heavy, and it is heavy. Yeah. It's a bit plasticky, it looked a bit cheap. I just wasn't expecting much from it. Yeah. But I just gave it a handful, it gave me the biggest wheelie, which I wasn't expecting. Smashed my knackers on the tank, which I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But I'm over that now, and to be fair, we've made up again. Yeah. So it's been a mega fun bike to ride. loads of character in that motor, isn't there?
Yeah, yeah, and also, I mean, we're focusing on the engine right now, but it's not bad at handling either.
No, I love it. I mean, it's the tallest riding position, so it suits me. I think that might be one of the reasons I love this bike so much. I'm dead comfortable on it. You're up there. The WP suspension, it's one of only 2 bikes as well, like the Triumph, that isn't electronic on this test.
Yeah, okay,
so,
yeah.
you know, analog suspension, felt good.
Yeah.
I just love this bike.
It's also the only bike in this group that doesn't look like a mini moto when you're riding it. We should point that out.
Yeah.
Which is always good.
Suits you, John, doesn't it?
Thank you, Tim. That means a lot.
It's great, you know, even the tech on it as well. I mean, the display. This is going to sound really trivial, but you know, nitpicking here. But when you turn it on, keyless ignition. 2 things actually. Keyless ignition isn't fantastic.
No, it's just
a few of these bikes
stupid.
have got it, and they've got away with us mentioning it actually. But keyless ignition on a few bikes isn't great. On this one here, when you go to flick the button to turn it on, you have to wait for the dash to kind of do its thing, and you're trying to thumb the starter to get it started much sooner than it will actually start. So that's a little bit irritating, but again, you can forgive that because everything does work really well. I like the systems it's got in it. The tech's really good. It's got a paddle shift system as well for your slip control or traction control and all that kind of stuff. And good kind of rider mode selection, isn't there? Cracking bike, big, powerful, exciting. I guess it's got a real kind of presence, you know, that's the best way to describe it.
Standout feature is definitely that motor in it.
Oh, stonking.
Love it.
So in at number 1, we've got the Ducati Street Fighter V4S. Didn't really come as a surprise to me. We all knew it was going to be up there, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's got an amazing V4 motor, hasn't it? So much tech. A lot of the crossover comes from like the Panigale range. One of the few features that don't are those lovely wings. Whether you like them or not, you know, they are what they are, but it doesn't deflect from the package. That is just pretty awesome, eh?
I love that V4 bark.
Yeah.
Just when you pull that clutch in, it goes like a bark, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, everything about it. I mean, it's quite interesting. You know, it's a good bike to kind of ride, you know, long distance and all the rest of it. It's a nice, relaxed riding position.
Yeah.
But it is, you know, it has got that character, those vibes and all the rest of it that, again, I guess you want. You know, that's what I think we've been able to determine with all these bikes, that actually we don't want bland. We want something that's going to excite us and feel alive and make you feel alive, and that's exactly what this does, isn't it?
This engine goes revs to 15,000 revs. And
Wild.
so it's kind of like the opposite of the KTM. The KTM just does it all in 10, 11,000 revs.
Yeah.
So you hit the throttle and the KTM goes "Rah!" straight away.
Yeah.
This kind of builds and builds and builds. So you have that first part, and that's not to say it's weak at the bottom end. It's perfectly strong and perfectly usable. And then you get this whole other motorbike when you go north of 10,000 revs, which just, sets your hair on fire, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Ducati claim, I think, you know, about 204 brake horsepower at the rear wheel on this, which is mental. Even 5 or 10 years ago, sports bikes could only dream of producing the same kind of horsepower that this thing is making. And it's a street naked. I mean, it's bonkers. Everything about it is bonkers. It's a statement. It's a beautiful statement. And I kind of like everything about it.
I think it nails all aspects. It nails the looks, the power delivery, the noise it makes. Yeah, I thought the suspension on it was mega. It's firm. It's got the electronic O-lins again.
Yeah.
Perfect for cornering. It was planted. Didn't feel like it was just going to run off wide. It just did the job right.
You could pretty much, I mean, it was one of those bikes, you could predict it as well. You could be pulled up.
Yeah, very predictable.
You know, there the corner is in front of you, go from cold, straight onto your knee, pick it back up again, and just have a hoot on the way out.
I got a session on the track on this, actually. This is the other bike that I got out on Snetterton in. Absolutely brilliant on the track. I loved it.
Yeah.
So fast, but real nice through the corners, loads of ground clearance. It's just fun, but sophisticated as well.
Yeah, I think Ducati's done a cracking job with this bike here, and we all liked it. You know, it is here, it is our winner, and I think that in a class as tough as this, to stand out as the best, it's pretty impressive, and it's going to take some toppling. I think, you know, the class of 2021 has been the best year for Supernakeds ever. You know, let's see what 2022 brings.